Before I start talking about just how great that episode was, we have ourselves yet another location change. I'm in Japan for 2 days on a last minute trip. But yeah, that just explains why I'm in a hotel room. So yeah, guys, let's actually just start talking about that absolute okay, let's start.
Goddamn right.
So yeah, that was a really great episode, and that was directed by Matt Shackman, who did the last episode. And again, this is yet another very different episode of Game of Thrones, because when the last one was a lot more sort of action based, you know, the whole last 20 minutes was that big action scene, and obviously we had all the stuff sort of, I feel like most of the stuff that happened in that last episode was sort of the Jaime, Bronn, Daenerys battle. Then we had some stuff in terms of the Arya reunion with Bran and Sansa. And with this episode, the show is basically just looking at every single one of these characters, all the characters who are still alive, who are still big players on the show, and sort of showing us where they are at the moment, and sort of setting up where they're going to go for the last 2 episodes, which are obviously going to be absolutely incredible. And there's a lot to cover right now, so I can't even remember most of what happened, because I am very much in awe of how great this episode was. But let's try to sort of recap, right? Let's try to remember what happened. So first we start off with Jaime and Bronn having some very nice dialogue, as always. Bronn is constantly very self-aware, one of my favourite characters, one of the most underrated characters. We then cut back to Daenerys, who is sort of accepting the surrender of most of these Lannister soldiers, and obviously Randall Tarly, unnecessarily difficult as always, says he wants to die. And then Dickon, who I felt had a really nice humanizing moment in that last episode, does just the retarded thing and dies as well.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
That's, you know, kind of, I guess, foreshadowing Daenerys kind of starting to be just a little bit more Mad Queenie, but she's still a very good, very kind-hearted character, as we sort of learn throughout the episode. What else happened? We also have, Daenerys and Jon sort of his first encounter with Drogon. And I love how with this episode especially, they're definitely sort of sowing the seeds in terms of Jon finding out that he is a Targaryen, even though I don't think he will find out until next season. You have this bit, his interaction with the dragon, and Daenerys is just sitting on Drogon being like, what the fuck? And also you have Gilly, who sort of reads that little bit. That was very subtle, Game of Thrones, very subtle. Gilly reading that bit to Sam. We'll talk about Sam in a bit, but Gilly reading that bit where she's like, Rhaegar had an annulment, and then some maester married him to another woman in Dawn or something, and that was nice. That was, like I said, very subtle. Let's talk about some of the Jaime and Cersei stuff. Basically, whenever Jaime is with Cersei, he becomes instantly more unlikable. He becomes basically the Jaime of season 1, close to that. And so basically, whenever Jaime's with another character, whether it's Bronn or Brienne or now Tyrion, he's much more likable. And obviously now we find out that Cersei is pregnant, which is very interesting indeed. However, I do think that baby's not going to last. I'm just saying it right now, that baby's not going to even get born, I doubt. But that is yet another thing that sort of gets Jaime vulnerable and gets him to sort of want to fight for Cersei, which is obviously not great. And obviously we have his reunion. You know, this is yet another episode of reunions. You know, we have Gendry and Davos. We'll talk about that later. We have Jaime and Tyrion. We also have, what else do we have? I don't really remember, but yeah, this is definitely an episode of reunions. Talk about Jaime and Tyrion. That kind of goes the same way you'd expect. It's kind of very hostile, and I like how Cersei kind of knows what happened. Hopefully nothing happens to Bronn, but yeah, that was alright. And also we have Gendry coming back. I really like Gendry as a character in season 1 up to 3, and it was really nice to see him come back. And I loved how Davos poked fun of the fact that, you know, he's basically been rowing the whole time, which is basically what everyone has been saying who watches Game of Thrones. And I really enjoyed just how self-aware this entire episode was. I've said from the very first episode of this season that Game of Thrones is becoming very self-aware, and I really appreciate that. And like that, Gendry sort of going in the same route as his dad, and, you know, using the hammer, Because for those who don't know, Robert used to use like a warhammer when he was young and he was fighting, and I absolutely love Gendry and Jon's interaction. Again, very self-aware, and I just love the dialogue between the two. It was just great. Obviously, we'll talk about some of the end stuff in a bit, but we now have to talk about Bran. He has that vision. They're all trying to like convince Cersei that, and Jaime as well, that the army of the dead is real, and that was interesting. That was very interesting. Oh yeah, another reunion, Jorah and Daenerys, very touching, but at the same time, Jorah constantly gets friend zoned. He gets friend zoned yet again in this episode. Although he does, he gets a hug. It's like a friend zone hug, but Jorah is still very much Lord of the friend zone. We have Arya, who's basically pretty much Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible now. She has the fighting skills, she can pick locks, she's basically a spy. She's one of my favourite characters. She's definitely proving herself to become useful and sort of relevant in the recent episodes, and that was very nice. I appreciated sort of Arya becoming a lot more active, because season 6 was not a very good season for her. It's kind of boring, so I did appreciate that quite a bit. And she finds out something about Littlefinger, about Sansa. It's like, I don't know what that is. I didn't like read it in time. I know I should have paused it, but I don't think it was very clear. Like some of the stuff was out of focus, so I didn't really know what that was. If you guys know what that was, please put down in the comments, because I had no clue what that letter between Littlefinger was. And also the fact that Littlefinger, even though he's being spied on by Arya, he's also spying on Arya, which means that that letter might have been something he planted specifically for Arya to pick up. But I don't know, that's just me overthinking things, I guess. But Littlefinger is a slimy, snaky prick, and he needs to go down. And Littlefinger, I hope that Littlefinger by the end of this season dies, because I feel like that would be very, very much appreciated. And also I have to talk about the fact that, where was Theon this episode? He arrived at Dragonstone, but he's nowhere to be found. And I feel like pretty much after that big ship battle, Euron and like Yara and the Greyjoys and the Dawn people have just kind of been rendered irrelevant, because they haven't shown Euron at all, and which is a shame, because I like Euron, but I guess that takes away from the focus of the story. But essentially what I'm trying to say is, I feel like Theon and Euron and, you know, these characters are kind of being put to the side now, and we're kind of more focusing on the war against the dead. And also I liked how they sort of built tension between Arya and Sansa, sort of essentially showing that Sansa is a little bit of a power grabber, I guess, and Arya knows it, right? And I think we as the audience sort of know it, but, you know, we'll see how that plays out. Anyway, I want to talk about the last bit, which is sort of the Suicide Squad beyond the wall sort of joining together and having the team sort of form, right? Let's see who we have. So we have Davos, who's kind of staying back at Eastwatch. We have Jon as the leader. We have the Hound, Beric, Thoros, Jorah, Gendry, and Tormund, right? It would have been nice to see Brienne join the team. That would have been nice, but she's down at Winterfell. But yeah, I think I'm very excited to see where we go from now. We sort of have the main focus. I think definitely for the last 2 episodes, the main focus will definitely be the Jon stuff in the north. But we also have, I feel like we need a little bit more clarity towards the Rhaegar Targaryen stuff, and I like I'll talk about Sam now. I think that not only was that bit with Gilly very subtle and very sort of, it was good foreshadowing, I guess, but also I like that Sam basically has that massive nervous breakdown and decides he's going to take action. He's going to go up to Jon and he's going to help fight, and he's leaving his Maester stuff, because the Maester stuff I thought was kind of boring, which, you know, but yeah, so he's leaving, and I think that the next 2 episodes definitely be more focused. We're not going to be going around all the different storylines as much, but I do hope we do get some clarity in terms of Jon's heritage. But anyway, guys, that was my sort of thoughts and my quick recap on this episode, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Very different to the last episode, but the run times are definitely getting longer. Last episode is going to be like an hour and 20 minutes, so I'm very excited to see where we go from here, guys. Thank you as always for watching. Thank you.